Hello, everyone. It is Perry back here at the Kia Supper Suite in Park City. And right now, I have the filmmakers behind Shirley. Big congratulations to you guys. I saw the movie. I heard that the premiere screening went over extremely well yesterday. Yay. How you doing?
Yes, it was awesome.
Feeling good?
Oh, yeah, it's a dream. This is like, getting to screen your movie and with 2,000 people at the Eccles is badass. Yeah.
Probably super high up on the bucket list right there. So there are some people out there that probably do not know what Shirley is about. So I must give this question to you, Josephine. Can you tell us a little bit about the synopsis of the film?
Sure. So Shirley's about Shirley Jackson, the writer. It's inspired by her life. It's a fictional account. This whole film was adapted from a fictional book, about Shirley and her husband Stanley, who is played by Michael Stuhlbarg, inviting this younger couple, played by Odessa Young and Logan Lerman, into their home. And it sort of has I guess you could say, a Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolfy vibe in terms of the way that the older couple kind of plays a little cat like mouse. We were joking, it's sort of like the cat putting the paw on the cockroach and just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna let you run away and then I'm gonna smush your face and then I'm gonna let you run away a little bit and then I'm smush your face. And it's a little bit that between the older couple and the younger couple. But it's also about this kind of deeper, the concern of a creative artist trying to make her work in a moment when it wasn't the easiest moment for a woman to be she was the breadwinner of her household in real life. So it's about sort of that the monstrosity of the creative process and how it can be very self-destructive and maybe also destructive to other people.
That was a great description. I feel like you hit so many different layers of the story right there.
There's a lot of layers.
There really are here, and I'm also not going to get the cat cockroach thing out of my mind now.
You also said something interesting the other day about the integration of selves, which I found was kind of interesting. You might mention that a little bit.
Well, there's a lot of Shirley Jackson stories involve two female main characters, or like for instance, We've Always Lived in the Castle and The Haunting of Hill House. There's this like kind of perfect ideal female character who's great at baking and keeping the house clean and is just jovial and gets along with everyone. And then there's the main character of the book who is a misanthrope and can kind of barely function in the world and deeply relies on that other character to sort of stay happy, feel a bit mothered, and but left to her own devices is just kind of like waiting to crack open and fall apart. And I think, to me, Shirley was sort of writing, and I think her biographers talk about this, that it seems like she's writing about two sides of herself. She was actually an incredible baker, a mother who wrote a lot about her experiences mothering, but also had a very dark side, a very self-destructive side, and but was also creative genius and super hilarious. So these two characters in our film, we have this kind of misanthropic Shirley and this bubbly, bright light of this young woman, Rose, I think are sort of two halves of the consciousness that in our film we sort of are trying to integrate.
I've been hearing a lot about how you kind of find the film and find the character more and more as the process goes along. So I'm curious for you, Michael, what were some of your burning questions for Josephine after your very first read of the script, and how did that change as the process went along?
Gosh, I don't remember what my initial questions were. I loved the script, Sarah Gubbin's script, and I didn't know anything about Shirley Jackson, but what I did eventually discover during the course of making the film was that initially the characters were based on the real Shirley Jackson and Stanley Edgar Hyman, who were married and lived in Bennington. But this script was based on a fictional novel, and that we were taking that fictional novel and removing it another step so that we were taking what were the real people and creating fictional circumstances for them to sort of bustle around in, which was exciting because oftentimes if you're playing someone who actually lived, you feel a great responsibility to honor who they were, what they went through, to know those things. And in this case, it kind of freed us up to play in a way that I wouldn't have had otherwise, which was delightful.
I get that vibe quite a bit from watching it. Can you tell us a little bit about Josephine as an actor's director and creating that environment where you feel inclined to play on set?
Well, that was something that it was one of the reasons I was really excited to work with Josephine, was because she's an actor and a performance artist and an editor and a million other things, talking about integrating all of your identities together, which is so cool. And I've been after trying to explode my preparation process, trying to figure out for myself other ways to find my way into things. So we explored physical stuff initially. We asked ourselves weird questions. We questioned each other in terms of who our characters were, and tried to just sort of shake things up a bit in the beginning. And also in the middle of a scene that was a very literary scene, Joe would say, okay, throw the language out and just do something physicalize this, or let's explore another aspect of what is actually going on here, and just throw the language out of it. And I think that was one of the interesting experiments and the uniqueness of the marriage between Sarah's script and what Joe brings as an artist, is this explosion of what you see on the page and an exploration of what's underneath the words. So that was thrilling, and I wanted more of it. We didn't have a lot of time as well, but you found a way, I think, masterfully to explore that underground area as well, and that comes across, I think, in the film.
Is this the first time you've directed from a script that you didn't write?
Yes.
Or
yeah.
feature, at least?
Yeah.
What was that process like, and were there any kind of, I don't know, unexpected maybe challenges or freedoms in that?
Yeah, in some ways, so Sarah Gummins wrote an incredible script that definitely was very dialogue driven. It's a film about people, sharing their blisses and tragedies, I guess, and or creating blisses and tragedies between each other. And as a filmmaker who's, I think, my previous work, I've had very little dialogue in my movies, you might say, and rely much more on like image and sound. And so a lot of my work with her script was kind of, I spent a lot of time with the script itself, visualizing and trying to just see what image felt like it would help bring what was on the page to life. But truly, I think the gift of having Michael and Lizzie on board, they're such different actors too, and Odessa and Logan, was just that everyone was really, I think everyone was equally excited by the script, and everyone had strong ideas and ways that they wanted to dig in. And what was great was that I think I just tried to create or push for enough time to get to do some rehearsals. So we tried to, and I really Michael is a complete genius. So I feel like I got to really learn from him so much, making this film and seeing the way that he prepares it's deeply. And there was just some of the most gorgeous moments in the movie came out of, I think, this deep preparation that you did, because he's someone who taught me that dialogue can be a dance, and I understand, and seeing the way he used dialogue to move around. We have some really important scenes that happen at a dinner table. A dinner table scene can be so boring. It's 4 people sitting at a table, but he created a physicality around that table, and it has a movement and a life. And I think so. Really, I think a lot of my work and what I did in trying to bring that script to life was let these guys who really, really know what they're doing have enough time, hopefully, to play. We barely had any time, it always felt like, but trying to create as much as possible time that they could explore the space. And I really wanted the actors to get the chance to put that dialogue in their bodies, and that we would define the shots based on their choices in terms of how they wanted to perform. So that, I think, was important to me in terms of bringing the script to life, is letting the actors make the big decisions and like giving ourselves time to say, does it feel like Lizzie wants to be right next to Michael in this moment, or does she need to be completely across the room? And so that there was a physicality to the language that was happening as subtext to the actual language.
It sounds like this is a highly collaborative process between you and your cast, so I am curious, during the casting process, like, what do you look for in the folks that you want to bring on board that makes you think, like, they're going to bring to my film what I need from them in that respect?
Well, it's funny because I don't know that when you cast someone, you don't know their process. You don't really know. And in some ways, I kind of think I probably maybe should have had more conversations about process ahead of time, like to really, and then to dig into, we definitely talked about how did we each like to prepare. But then when we got on set, it was kind of like a mashup of, whatever we could accomplish, and everyone bringing their best selves and also their best techniques, I guess, to the set. But I don't know what way you can figure that out. I think I feel like we chose the actors we chose for this film, or had the delight of having, getting to work with us, because we love their work, So that was, and just seeing actors who can be like utterly authentic, that not only do you believe them, but you're taken into their world. That's just so special. And I think I've really felt that about really all of our lead actors, that they kind of pull us into their worlds.
I can't wind this conversation down without asking you to talk about Odessa, because I think she is just one of the best out there, and an up-and-coming star that everybody should be keeping an eye on right now. So having worked with her, what is that special spark you see in her that maybe just reinforces what I just said?
Well, I'll say, so sadly, Odessa, she couldn't make it. She had a visa issue, couldn't get into the U.S., which is such a... I thought I was going to sneeze.
Bless you.
So that must be a blessing to Odessa somewhere.
Yeah.
But we were so sad that she didn't make it into the United States, and she really wanted to be here. And I think it would have been wonderful to have her here, because she is like a magnanimous, one of the stars of this film, and she's stunning in the movie. Really, drives we see the whole story through her eyes. I think the thing that felt so right about her the whole time is that we're making a period film about a woman who has in some ways a very, very conventional role and is oppressed, and that can be something that we've seen a million times before, that kind of like, oh, I'm just the mousy young woman who's being oppressed by society. And we saw Odessa's audition tape, and it just had a wild like feralness to it, and we were like, oh, that could be Rose. She brought something to it that we didn't even know could be in the character. And then to have that person, this feral, woman desiring to escape, her body, basically, in that role, it just gave a whole layer of depth and dimension to Rose, to this, lead character of our film, that I don't know if, I feel like Odessa was a gift from God, because she's always just so willing to go all the way. Yeah.
Before you have to go, I can't say enough kind things about Odessa. I had so much fun working with her on the film before we leave the topic of the film. Mm-hmm. And I missed her being here to celebrate this, but particularly after seeing the film, seeing how effortlessly she can keep our attention simply being present. And you can't take your eyes off her in this movie. She's the heart of and the soul and the spirit behind a large part of this film. She has a strength that is undeniable, and I can't wait to see all of the things that she does.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I want to end on that note because it's so beautiful, but I also wanted to ask you guys this other one, because I'm very curious about your take on it too. Academy Awards are coming up. If you could add one category to the lineup, what would you pick and why?
Casting directors who have been so generous to everybody and are present and helpful throughout the entire process from the beginning to the end. I know there are several categories that could be included, but that's a huge part of what this creative endeavor is about. Them having the awareness of what's going out there in the world to bring new faces and new ideas to what a director might envision. Like having here the conversation about Odessa coming in and her showing you a different side to who that character could be.
Yeah. And I don't know about category, but I will speak to female. I wish that there were more female directors in the directing category, and I feel like Greta Gerwig and Lulu Wang should have been nominated. They made stunning movies that are feats of directing. There are directing feats that I think work on levels that are. It frustrates me that it seems often to make an Academy Award nominated film, to be nominated for a director, you have to kill people. That's a devastating, and that rules out most films. I think women are deeply interested in a different kind of storytelling that's much more character driven, and I think that kind of storytelling, to make that like rocket out of the theater, takes so much subtle and nuance and so much insight as a director. And I saw that in, many films by women this year, but I think especially, Lulu Wang and Greta Gerwig, I just wish that they had been nominated.
I couldn't agree
Absolutely.
more. Can I ask you one follow-up to that? How do you think we can start to make steps to changing that? Is it about adding more nominations to the category? Is it about, getting them in front of eyes more often? What do you think the key is to making that change?
I did wonder, because I got into the Academy this year, which was a huge gift. I was so excited. Badass. I was, voting was such a pleasure, but it also made me realize, and I don't know the exact numbers of how many Academy members there are, but I realized that so many of my female director friends are working, and their mothers, and it was actually a job to try to see all of the movies to get nominated, and it takes a long time. And I know that I just had a baby this fall. It was really hard for me to make the time to try to see a small percentage of the movies that were nominated or that were shortlisted, and I think in some ways it's so funny, because I think what's great is more female director friends I have are working now than ever before, which is like, thanks God for that. That's awesome, and thanks for all of the really awesome studio executives who are hiring these women to direct films. But I also think that I was like, who are the people who are sitting at home able to watch 45 movies in 2 weeks, and I was like, what's the people who probably are older, maybe are retired, and I think that still it's gonna take us a minute, for the Academy membership to catch up to our time, and I think they're working so hard to integrate and to have way more women, way more people of color in the Academy. But I guess I saw when the nominations came out, I felt like I was a certain kind of person who is still the majority of the voter in the Academy, and I think that's probably, it may just take a few more years of this very thoughtful work that the Academy's been doing, I think, to bring way more women and people of color in. But also, the more films that are getting out there by women, by people of color, is, I think, the more opportunities we'll have to nominate those films, and the bigger budgets those directors get.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts on
Yes.
that. And thank you guys so much for your time today. Another huge congratulations to you on the movie.
Thank you.
To everybody out there, keep an eye out for Shirley. Also, we have to say a big thanks to Kia. We are at the Supper Suite in Park City, and we are so grateful to have this opportunity to talk to you fine folks about your movie. So like and share this interview before you leave, and stay tuned. We're going to have more from Park City for you real soon.